Either just gonna be reading about the Philippines, also gonna be eating a couple big wraps, and with eggs, cheese, mayonnaise, and hot sauce. And I really should lose my kitchen privileges because as you can see probably by the video, I burnt them pretty bad. So, but just gonna be doing an ASMR Wikipedia reading article here. So, Philippines. The Philippines, officially the Republic of the Philippines, is an archipelagic country in Southeast Asia. Surprising, the wrap still tastes very good. The bird wrap doesn't come through too much. So, in the Western Pacific Ocean, it consists of 7,641 islands with a total area of 300,000 square kilometers, which are broadly categorized in three main geographical divisions from north to south: Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. The Philippines is bounded by the South China Sea to the west, the Philippine Sea to the east, and the Celebes Sea to the south. It shares maritime borders with Taiwan to the north, Japan to the northeast, Palau to the east and southeast, Indonesia to the south, Malaysia to the southwest, Vietnam to the west, and China to the northwest. It is the world's 12th most populous country with diverse ethnicities and cultures. Manila is the country's capital, and its most populated city is Quezon City. Both are within Metro Manila. Have you been to the Philippines? I have not myself. Let me just see. Negritos, the archipelago's earliest inhabitants, were followed by waves of Austronesian peoples. The adoption of animism, Hinduism, with Buddhist influence, and Islam established island kingdoms ruled by Datas, Rajas, and Sultans. Extensive overseas trade with neighbors such as the late Tang or Song Empire brought Chinese people to the archipelago as well, which would also gradually settle in and intermix over the centuries. The arrival of Ferdinand Magellan, a Portuguese explorer leading a fleet for Castile, marked the beginning of Spanish colonization. I didn't know they were colonized by Spain. In 1543, Spanish explorer Ruy Lopez de Villalobos named the archipelago Las Islas Filipinas in honor of King Philip II of Castile. Spanish colonization via New Spain, beginning in 1565, led to the Philippines becoming ruled by the Crown of Castile as part of the Spanish Empire for more than 300 years. Catholic Christianity became the dominant religion, and Manila became the western hub of trans-Pacific trade. Hispanic immigrants from Latin America and Iberia would also selectively colonize. The Philippine Revolution began in 1896 and became entwined with the 1898 Spanish-American War. Spain ceded the territory to the United States, and Filipino revolutionaries declared the First Philippine Republic. The ensuing Philippine-American War ended with the United States controlling the territory until the Japanese invasion of the islands during World War II. Good stuff. After the United States retook the Philippines from the Japanese, the Philippines became independent in 1946. The country has had a tumultuous experience with democracy, which included the overthrow of a decades-long dictatorship and a non-violent revolution. The Philippines is an emerging market, a newly industrialized country whose economy is transitioning from being agricultural to service and manufacturing centered. It is a founding member of the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, ASEAN, the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum, and the East Asia Summit. It is a member of the Non-Aligned Movement and a major NATO ally of the United States. Its location as an island country on the Pacific Ring of Fire and close to the equator makes it prone to earthquakes and typhoons. The Philippines has a variety of natural resources and a globally significant level of biodiversity. Prehistory, pre-900. There is evidence of early hominins living in what is now the Philippines as early as 709,000 years ago. potentially represent an otherwise unknown species, Homo luzonensis, who lived 50,000 to 67,000 years ago. The oldest modern human remains on the island are from the Taban Caves of Palawan. U/TH dated, not sure what that is, to 47,000 plus or minus 11 to 10,000 years ago. Taban man is presumably a Negrito. Among the archipelago's earliest inhabitants descended from the first human migrants out of Africa via the coastal route along southern Asia to the now sunken landmasses of Sundaland and Seoul. The first Austronesians reached the Philippines from Taiwan around 2200 BC, settling the Batan's Islands. They built stone fortresses known as Ichangs and northern Luzon. Jade artifacts have been dated to 2000 BC, with Ling Ling O jade items made in the Luzon with raw materials from Taiwan. By 1000 BC, the inhabitants of the archipelago had developed into four societies: hunter-gatherer tribes, warrior societies, island plutocracies, and port principalities. Early states, 900 to 1565. The earliest known surviving written record in the Philippines is the early 10th century AD Laguna copper plate inscription, which was written in Old Malay using the early Kawi script with a number of technical Sanskrit words, and Old Japanese or Old Tagalog or honorifics by the 14th century. Several large coastal settlements emerged as trading centers and became the focus of societal changes. Some polities had exchanges with other states throughout Asia. Trade with China is believed to have begun during the Tang Dynasty and expanded during Song Dynasty. Throughout the second millennium AD, some polities were also part of the tributary system of China, with extensive trade and diplomacy. This also brought southern Chinese merchants and migrants, especially from southern Fujian, historically initially known in Tagalog as Lang and Sang Lei, and later Spanish as Sangli, which over the centuries would also gradually settle and intermix in the Philippines. Indian cultural traits such as linguistic terms and religious practices began to spread in the Philippines during the 14th century. Probably via Hindu Majapahit Empire. The Hindu Majapahit Empire. By the 15th century, Islam was established in the Sulu archipelago and spread from there. Polities founded in the Philippines between the 10th and 16th century include Manila, Tondo, Namayan, Pangasinan, Cebu, Butuan, Maguindanao, Lanao, Sulu, and Mai. The early polities typically had a three-tier social structure: nobility, freemen, and dependent debtor bondsmen. Among the nobility were leaders known as datas, who were responsible for ruling autonomous groups, barangays, and dulahan. When the barangays banded together to form a larger settlement or geographically looser alliance, their more esteemed members would be recognized as paramount datu, raja, or sultan, and would rule the community. Population density is thought to have been low during the 14th to 16th centuries due to the frequency of typhoons and the Philippines' location on the Pacific Ring of Fire. Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan arrived in 1521, claimed the islands for Spain, and was killed by Lapu-Lapu's men in the Battle of Mactan. Let me just see here. Spanish and American colonial rule, 1565 to 1934. Unification and colonization by the Crown of Castile began when Spanish explorer Miguel Lopez de Legazpi arrived from New Spain, Spanish Nueva España, in 1565. Many Filipinos were brought to New Spain as slaves and forced crew. Spanish Manila became the capital of the Spanish East Indies in 1571. Spanish territories Pacific. The Spanish invaded local states using the principle of divide and conquer, bringing most of what is the present-day Philippines under unified administration. Disparate barangays were deliberately consolidated into towns where Catholic missionaries could more easily convert their inhabitants to Christianity, which was initially syncretist. Christianization by the Spanish friars occurred mostly across the settled lowlands over the centuries, whether be it the Austronesian groups or even the Sangli Chinese migrant settlers and any mixed mestizo descendants thereof from 1565 to 1821. The Philippines was governed as a territory of the Mexico City-based Viceroyalty of New Spain. It was then administered from Madrid after the Mexican War of Independence. Manila became the western hub of trans-Pacific trade by Manila galleons built in Bicol and Cavite. During its rule, Spain nearly bankrupted its treasury, quelling indigenous revolts and defending against external military attacks, including Moro piracy, a 17th century war against the Dutch, 18th century British occupation of Manila, and conflict with Muslims in the south. Administration of the Philippines was considered a drain on the economy of New Spain, and abandoning it or trading it for other territory was debated. This course of action was opposed because of the island's economic potential, security, and the desire to continue religious conversion. Apparently I can't read it in the region. The colony survived on an annual subsidy from the Spanish crown, averaging 250,000 pesos, usually paid as 75 tons of silver bullion from the Americas. British forces occupied Manila. From 1762 to 1764, during the 7 Years' War, and Spanish rule was restored with the 1763 Treaty of Paris. The Spanish considered their war with the Muslims in Southeast Asia as an extension of the Reconquista. The Spanish-Moro conflict lasted for several hundred years. Spain conquered portions of Mindanao and Jolo during the last quarter of the 19th century, and the Muslim Moro and the Sultanate of Sulu acknowledged Spanish sovereignty. Philippine ports opened to world trade during the 19th century, and Filipino society began to change. Social identity changed with the term Filipino encompassing all residents of the archipelago instead of solely referring to Spaniards born in the Philippines. Revolutionary sentiment grew in 1872 after three activist Catholic priests were executed on questionable grounds. This inspired the propaganda movement organized by Marcelo H. de Pilar. Jose Rizal, Graciano Lopez, Jaina, and Mariano Ponce, which advocated political reforms in the Philippines. Rizal was executed on December 30th, 1896 for rebellion, and his death radicalized many who had been loyal to Spain. Attempts at reform met with resistance. Andres Bonifacio founded the Katipunan Secret Society, which sought independence from Spain through armed revolt in 1892. Now we'll skip over to some geography. The Philippines is an archipelago of about 7,641 islands. Covering a total area, including inland bodies of water, of about 300,000 square kilometers, 115,831 square miles, stretching 1,850 kilometers, 1,150 miles north to south, from the South China Sea to the Celebes Sea. The Philippines is bordered by the Philippine Sea to the east and the Sulu Sea to the southwest. The country's 11 largest islands are Luzon, Mindanao, Samar, Negros, Palawan, Panay, Mindoro, Leyte, Cebu, Bohol, and Masbate. About 95% of its total land area. The Philippines coastline measures 1,000 world's fifth longest and the country's exclusive economic zone, covers 2,263,816 kilometers squared, 874,064 square miles. Let me just see if there's any interesting climate. The Philippines as tropical. Maritime climate, which is usually hot and humid. There are 3 seasons: a hot, dry season from March to May, rainy season from June to November, and a cool, dry season from December to February. The southwest monsoon, known as the Habagat, lasts from May to October, and the northeast monsoon, Amahan, lasts from November to April. The coolest month is January, and the warmest month is May. Temperatures at sea level across the Philippines tend to be in the same range regardless of latitude. Average annual temperature is around 26.6 degrees Celsius, 79.9 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's 18.3 degrees Celsius, 64.9 degrees Fahrenheit. In Baguio, 1,500 meters, 4,900 feet above sea level. The country's average humidity is 82%. Annual rainfall is as high as 5,000 millimeters, 200 inches in the mountainous east coast, but less than 1,000 millimeters, 39 inches in some sheltered valleys. And I'm about to run out of battery.